Okay, so we are ready for success criteria number 3 on our writing of linear functions, the equations. So in this one, we're going to write a linear function if you're given the intercepts. So we're going to be given the x and the y intercepts. Okay, so on this one, we're going to look at, first off, we're going to write each equation in standard form. So that's the instructions. Now that might not always be the instructions given your intercepts, but that's definitely the instructions for this one. And so the thing about it is you can't take 2 points and go straight to standard form. So just get in the habit that in order to go to standard form, you need to either do point slope or you need to do slope intercept, one or the other first. Okay? So it really doesn't matter which one you do. So if you're doing, and I think I'm just going to stick with doing the point slope because that's how we did the others, and I think it'll be easier, but I could show you both of them on there. So when we look at this, what we're given actually is 2 sets of points, okay? And so I don't think it ever hurts to write on there, whoops, that's a y, the x1, x2, y1, y2, to realize you've got 2 sets of points given. And so when we come in here to do our equation here, what you can do, and you can do this a couple of different ways. One would be you could run the slope formula because we know we have a point, we need the slope. And so remember the slope formula being y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And so when we put our numbers in there, we're going to get 0 minus 2 over -1 minus 0, which is a -2 over a -1, and therefore my slope is 2. Okay? Now, that would be one way to do it, give you a slope of 2. The other way that I like also looking at it is that if I have the standard form and I solve it to put it in y equals mx plus b. Okay, we've done this in class, so solve for y. So we've done solving for variables. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this here for you. So we would get by equals a negative, and I'm going to put it with the x first. Okay? And then I divide by b, divide by b. Okay? So y in this case is a negative a over b, x plus c over b. Okay? The easiest thing, what I want you to see here, is this piece here, because I think that to me ties into what we're doing here. Because if I go back to the slope formula, my slope is 2, which is the change in y over change in x. If I look at my y here, it's 2 over a -1, but we need to do the opposite here. Okay? 2 over a -1, because these are our intercepts, remember? I should go back, I guess, one more step and talk about, remember, when we put a 0 here, okay, that's gone. And so we have y equals whatever, and then so forth. That's that same way. And so what we're talking about here again is you should be able to, if it's your intercepts, guys, now this is not always the case unless it's your intercepts. So allow you to skip a step here. It's always the opposite of this over this. So right now I have 2 over a -1, but if I do the opposite, see, I get 2. Okay, so just a shortcut. You don't have to do that by any means. You can always do the formula, and I'll probably will do that a couple of times for you. But if that makes sense to you, you can always shortcut the formula. Whoops. All right. So let me go back. So what we just found, since I erased it, we found the slope to be 2. And so then we're going to put it into this formula. Now, when you do that, pick one or the other points. You don't want both of them. And so it is y minus your y equals your slope, x minus your x. Okay? So I'm using just this point. I'm going to mark this. So my x is 0. Okay? Don't use the other point. Just use it to get your slope and you're done. Again, I want this in standard form. So I'm going to distribute that. 2 times 0 is just 0. We know that. And so, again, standard form, the x and the y are on the same side, so it is the y I need to move. So that looks to be in standard form except for it's flipped. So you really do need to get in the habit of flipping it just so that it is in the standard form. So that is my answer. Okay, let me do another one for you and not try to confuse you with all the other stuff that I was saying. So here we go. If I'm running through the next problem, the first thing that I would do would be run my slope formula. Okay, so again, x, y, x, y. And again, if you need to put the 1s and the 2s on there, that's fine. So y minus y, x minus x. Now get those in the right order. And so in this case, it is a -3 over a -4 or 3/4. Again, if I look here, my y is 3, my x is -4, but if I do the opposite, so that would be 3 over 4, -4, but I do the opposite, which gives me also the 3/4. So just a different way of doing it on there. Okay, so we've got that little piece of it, and now we're going to write our equation. So again, the next thing that we're going to do is pick, whoops, let me get my eraser here again, pick one of the points. I would just always stick with one, and I would even circle it and mark out the other one, because I think that's going to help you, because if not, you're going to want to reach over here. So here's our equation. Y minus the y is 3 equals your slope times x minus whatever your x value is here. Okay. Now, definitely you could choose the other value if you want. And that, you know, we could do the other one next time if you want, just to show you. But here we go. Y minus 3 equals 3/4 x. Again, I'm going to move the y over. So 3/4 x. And I'm moving the y minus y. And then flip it again. So I have, see if I can get it in here, 3/4 x minus y equals a -3 as my final answer. Okay? Now, like I said, this one says to write it in standard form. We usually won't write it in standard form. We would probably do slope-intercept form. If you were doing slope-intercept form for this problem, get rid of a little bit of this here without trying to get rid of the whole thing. If you were doing slope-intercept form, y minus 3 equals 3/4 x, and then move your 3 over, which is probably the most common way you would be asked to do that. Okay, so that's more common, but I was just having you practice standard form today. Okay, let's do another one. So the next one here, just trying to make it a little bit more difficult, gave it to you with fraction in there. So y minus y, so 0 minus 1/2. X minus x, so 6 minus 0. And if you'll notice on these, to be sure you go right, the zeros are on opposite sides. So I've got a -1/2 divided by 6. Now, a lot of you guys have been putting things like this on your equations, and I said don't do that unless you know what you're going on. So you do need to understand how to write this. So this is actually -1/2 divided by 6, which is a -1/2 times the reciprocal. So this answer would be a -1/12. Okay? So again, understanding what this means, and this is your division. Okay, that is your slope. So now your equation would be y minus, I'm going to just, I don't want to use the fraction, so I'm going to use this one this time. So y minus y equals slope x minus x. So y equals a -1/12 x minus 6. So that one would be really easy to go points or slope intercept, because now you just need to distribute and you're done. Okay, but go ahead and change that into standard form. So I'm not going to do it in standard form, but I do need you to be sure you're positive and you go ahead and write it in standard form so we can check that later. So that would be something I might ask you in class for. Go ahead and do number 4. So again, I don't think it ever hurts to put your numbers on there. Sometimes I get messed up. So we're going to do y minus y. So 0 minus a negative 2. Again, be careful with that. And then x minus x. Again, this is going to give me 2, because the double negatives make it positive, over 3/4. The easiest way to remember how to do this is called a complex fraction, is you always just multiply by the reciprocal to top and bottom. So this will cancel. This is left with 2 times 4/3. Okay, so in this case, 8/3. Okay, would be my slope. Let's go ahead and write my equation on there. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to pick the first one because, again, I don't like dealing with fractions. So y minus y equals my slope, x minus 0 in this case. So y plus 2 equals 8/3. X, again, go ahead and move your 2, or go ahead and move your y over to the other side and get it in your standard form. I'm going to have to come over here because I'm losing space. Whoops, that's a minus. Let's see if I can erase that without erasing everything. There we go. Minus y equals 2. I kind of flipped it also. Okay, this video got a little long, so I'm going to not do problem number 4 for you. But I wanted to do some with fractions in there because there's always a possibility that you might have a fraction within your point. So again, your next set of problems are going to be multiple choice, and good luck on those.